Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Nathan Boyd, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Pilot Officer Henry Worthimer. We warmly welcome the family of Private George Montague Tickle, who are watching the live stream of this evening's ceremony. His story will be told shortly. This week, we will mark Australia Day and the story of our extraordinary nation, which began 60,000 years ago. As Australians, we will reflect, respect, and celebrate our nation and its people. We are honoured to welcome the National Australia Day Council and the accompanying delegation, which includes Australians of the year category winners, both past and present, and nominees from each state and territory for this year's national awards. Since its inception in 1960, our nation celebrates the achievements and contributions of eminent Australians through the Australian of the Year awards by recognising the contributions of leading citizens who are role models for us all. They inspire us through their achievements and challenge us to make our own contributions to create a better Australia. We also welcome veterans who have served, those who are still serving, and families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland who are watching the broadcast of this evening's ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem. The Australian War Memorial was a vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where family and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we hold true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance of the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved. And here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who gave their lives for us in war and in operation for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private George Montague Tickle. George Tickle was born in Brisbane on the 18th of March, 1895, the first of 9 children of tobacconist George Tickle and his wife Alice. Young George grew up in South Brisbane, where he attended West End State School before going on to work as a salesman. He also served for 2.5 years in the Australian Medical Corps in Brisbane. George's 19-year-old brother Victor enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force in February 1915. He went to serve with the Australian Medical Corps until he was seriously wounded in France in October 1917, when he returned to Australia. Perhaps motivated by his brother's example, George Tickle enlisted in December 1916 at the age of 21. He was allotted to the reinforcements to the 9th Battalion, which had been recruited from Queensland shortly after the declaration of war. On the 24th of January 1917, George Tickle left Australia aboard the troop ship Ayrshire, bound for overseas service. Arriving in England, Private Tickle underwent training on Salisbury Plain before joining his unit in Belgium in November. As the 9th Battalion spent the European winter in Flanders engaging in vigorous patrolling and raiding, Tickle was marked for further training. He was sent to Divisional Signal School and then to the 3rd Infantry Brigade School, rejoining his unit in March. On the 24th of April, the battalion had just re-entered the front line, relieving the 12th Battalion. Detailed to take the village of Metheren, about 17 kilometres southwest of Ypres, the assault met fierce resistance. Despite using Stokes mortars to good effect, the attack was repelled by a great number of enemy machine guns posted in houses and hedges. The commanding officer asked for a heavy barrage in order to keep the attack going, but it was considered inadvisable on the account of the close proximity of own troops. As the troops regrouped and assessed casualties, among the dead was Private George Tickle, who was just 23 years old. His remains were buried nearby at Metheren Military Cemetery. 1918 was a cruel year for the Tickle family. Not long after news of George's death was received in Australia, George Tickle Sr. died, leaving Alice Tickle to mourn both son and husband. George Tickle's name is listed on the Roll of Honour to my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private George Montague Tickle, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
If you're able, please stand for the sounding of the last post.
They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub of Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director and staff, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support for the Memorial's development project. We particularly appreciate your visit despite the challenges posed by COVID and wish you all a very pleasant evening.